What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to the show. What's up, Trevor?
Brady, dude, you and I just both got back. Well, you got back this morning. I got back yesterday from big old trips back
From
east.
5 minutes ago. Yes.
Exactly. We rolled in.
Where did you go?
We were in. It's pretty cool. So Carly, my wife, and I, we went to Philadelphia, or we went to Richmond, Virginia first, and then Philadelphia. So I've been running a mastermind since 2008. With pretty much the same group of guys.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy seeing the way that this group has grown together. You know, we were all in the early days barely making six figures, if that, or trying to.
Yeah.
A lot of people weren't married, didn't have kids. And this same, like, about 7 or 8 guys has grown together. Almost everybody in that group now is making 8 figures, or at least well into the 7. Great families. All marriages are fully intact still 10, 15 years later.
That's crazy.
That was a blast. But one thing that was really cool is talking on the real estate side of things. So I had a chance to visit a bunch of projects that my friend Daniel Clayman has developed in Richmond, Virginia, and we got to meet up with Adam New in our Epic program.
Adam, I was wondering.
So I'll post that on IG soon. But got to see a project that I'm a partner in. It was I don't remember the exact number of units, but it's 20-something amazing residential units upstairs, the top 2 floors, bunch of commercial downstairs, about a $7 million project, and had a chance to walk it and go through that and tour it and see how it's transforming the neighborhood in Richmond. And then in Philly, where we held the mastermind, my friend Doug Faith, who I've known for years, he's redeveloping parts of Philly, building 200-plus affordable homes every single year. And I'm a partner in an apartment building. It just literally got fully leased up two weeks ago.
Nice.
And I had a chance to tour that in person. So that was fun, being able to see the projects in person that I've been a part of.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
that sounds like a good trip.
It was great.
Was it roasting over there or not too bad?
Saturday was. So when Carly and I were walking around Philly checking out all the historical sites, you know, like where the Declaration of Independence was signed and the Liberty Bell, and we ran the Rocky Steps the next day. It was sweltering.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like 80% humidity or something.
Yeah.
But
I was in South Carolina all week, and it was 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, check the weather. It's 100 degrees. Sweet.
And the humidity is crazy. So for everybody wondering from these guys from Oregon why we think humidity is a big deal, because humidity out here in Oregon is it's either 100% humidity and it's raining, or it's not, and it's like 50% humidity, and the summers are crazy good. So we travel anywhere in the south or the east during summertime, it feels like it's 800 degrees to us.
Yeah.
Guys come out west to Oregon in the summer, come to Carrot Camp in May and September to get out of the heat and humidity. It's amazing.
I think if it got any hotter or any more humid, I might have died and not made it to the show this week. I was literally concerned for my life. That's why I don't live in the South.
It was hot, man. It was hot.
It was good.
Heck yeah.
Sweet. So we're talking about the future of search today relative to AI summaries, the recent Google rollout. There's a lot of questions. People are speculating, like, how is AI going to change the future of search? And so everybody tuning in, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about weather in the South. But any thoughts on it, Trevor?
Dude, on AI, before we flip into the actual podcast side of it, this is probably going on, this question is probably going through people's minds all the time. Whether it's, hey, how can I use ChatGPT in my business? Or how is it going to affect my business? The part that we're going to talk about in detail here is how does it affect Google search? And where do we see that going with Google search? Because one thing that I think a lot of people are asking and they're wondering about is they're saying, like, the words that keep popping up in my mind is like, is this a revolution? Meaning, oh my gosh, everything's completely changing. Or is this an evolution? Meaning, it's just the next way that this is adjusting. The way I look at it, this is an evolution of search. This is an evolution of how people find the answers that they're looking for. It's not a revolution where it's like everything is going to be completely upended over the next 12 to 14 months. So this is where, for those who are researching and getting ahead of these trends and how search is going to change with AI, then you're going to win. Those that don't, I think you might have some challenges, just like any major update with Google search. So we're going to dig into that in detail.
Interesting. I have a follow-up question to what you just said, but I'm going to save it till after the intro and hope that I remember. All right, let's kick off the podcast.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
AI and the future of SEO, the landscape of SEO. So marketers love to say that SEO is dead, and marketers love to say that, frankly, any other marketing method is dead because
Yeah.
they have something to sell, they have something to market. But the question we're answering today is it true? Is SEO dead? Is SEO going to be dead? Obviously, spoiler: SEO is not dead right now
Yeah.
because we're still running. People are still getting results from SEO. But we want to talk about the future of SEO and what it means for you if you rely on it for lead gen for your business, because it can be a scary thing with AI summaries coming out and just AI in general moving so fast. We're hearing a lot of people asking, like, what does this mean for the future of SEO, for Google, for websites in general? So we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about it today. Trevor, before we started the podcast, you were talking about, is this a evolution or a revolution?
Yeah.
So you believe it's a it's a evolution. A question for you: evolution compared to a revolution, meaning like everything is going to change as a whole. Like the way we find information is going to completely change almost overnight.
Yeah.
Has there been a revolution in SEO in your eyes? Like maybe prior to Ask Jeeves? To me, it's like Ask Jeeves was the revolution.
Yeah.
And really, it's just been like slow incremental changes since then.
Yeah, that's the way that I've seen it. Even like going from desktop experience to mobile, I don't see that as a revolution, right? That was the right next evolution. I think we need to go up a step higher to start thinking about revolutions. And this is my opinion, but the last real revolution in how people find answers was when the internet came. Right, that was the last big revolution.
Yeah.
Me and the family were watching a movie a couple weeks ago. It was King Richard. It was like the story of Serena and Venus Williams and their kind of rise and their dad. And early on in the movie, the kids, part of their job was to go out there and throw phone books in people's yards. So they got paid for the phone books. My kids,
that sounds like a workout. That's way more than throwing a newspaper.
Exactly. Yeah, like they're tossing phone books, and my kids, the oldest one's 14. They were going, "What are they throwing in the yard?" And we said, "A phone book." And we had to explain what a phone book was to our kids.
That's great.
And all of them were going, "That's dumb. Like, that sounds like a lot of work." I go, "Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work." And it didn't get updated but once a year.
Yeah.
And so if you got into business in July after the phone book came out, your business didn't exist as far as the phone book considered. So I think that was the last real evolution, or revolution. So we have to ask the question of, like, how has people how has people finding the answers to what they're looking for changed dramatically? And I think that was the last one. Now, when we look at AI, I do think AI in many ways is going to be a revolution in many ways, outside of Google search for now. I think AI is going to be a revolution in the way that we do a lot of things in our life, right? So many things in our life, I think in 5 years, are just going to be done for us, where we had to do the work before to do them. You look at what's going on with Neuralink, one of Elon Musk's companies, where there is a person right now who's a quadriplegic who has Neuralink embedded into his brain, and he's able to fully control his computer screen just with his thoughts. It took some training to do that. Now, guys, this is not future. This is today.
Yeah.
And so when we start to think about the next revolution, I think the next revolution is going to be when, we'll talk about it a little bit here, is going to be when people can just think about what it is that they want, and that thing is like literally delivered to them. Now, the challenge that we're going to talk about here is there's multiple layers of there's multiple layers of types of content or types of searches or types of needs that people look for. There's from the how-to information. Hey, how do I do this? Or let me learn the basic history of Philadelphia or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of information, the basic information, that's how-to information or easy information, that's gonna be the first to be gobbled up with AI. Okay, I think that might be kind of more towards maybe a little bit revolution. Okay, but the evolution side, or the other side of it, is when it gets really further towards the high risk, I really want to. There's a lot of risk in me making this decision, a medical decision, a big financial decision, things like that. I think are going to take far longer for search or AI to really be able to take those over, which is where we do business.
Yeah.
We help people in those areas. So yeah, I think it's just another evolution that we've got to keep updated. We've got to move and shake. And the cool thing is, it fully supports the strategy we've been driving forward for years. And we're going to be talking more about what are some specific things we can do, knowing where we believe search and AI search summaries are going, and how you can stay in front of the search engines.
Yeah. And to back it up even further, we were talking when it was a couple weeks ago during the summit, we were talking with Nathan Gotch. He was saying that some of the websites that are taking a hit right now are the websites that are answering very simplistic questions. And when I say taking a hit, I mean like they're losing traffic to their website because Google's taking their content on their site, serving up an answer. But it's really simple questions like we were talking about, like, how to fix this part of my toilet, or can I do X or Y? Like very simple yes or no questions. But the real estate transaction is loaded. The questions are more complex, and people sometimes, people want to work with an expert, and so they're not just trying to find the answer to the question, but they're trying to find an expert to work with. They're trying to vet and verify someone.
Dude, I think one thing that pops up in my mind is there's like fact and opinion. The things that are easy to prove fact on, I think, are the first things that are going to get gobbled up, and some of them already are with AI search, right? Where things are less fact-driven, like 2 + 2, we all know for a fact that is 4 if we're looking at math, right? But things are opinion-driven. So best sushi place in Roseburg, or which company should I work with to sell my house to, or which company is the most reputable HVAC company in town, or anything like that, I think is going to be way harder, and it's going to take longer, and they're going to have to build in outside content and people's reviews and people's opinions on the companies that they're working with. I feel like that's always going to be a part of that equation, where these machines have to get that information somewhere, because it's a dynamic changing market of what's happening, and what producers or what people in those markets are the ones who are the best. But 2 + 2 is never going to change to 5. Right. So,
like you were saying, it's the chick before we hit record. It's the chicken or the egg. Like, if the content goes away, the AI doesn't have anything to go off of. It doesn't have anything to serve answers up off of, until we get to a point where potentially where AI is thinking for itself and training itself. Which I actually just read a really good article that Cam and our team posted through this last week. And it sounds like maybe by the end of the decade we might be hitting that point with AI. But it's interesting. It's still at least 6 years out. So anyways, interesting to think about. We want to pull up that statistic. I feel like this would be a good thing to talk about, is that statistic you're sharing right before we hit record. About people are starting to ask, like, are AI summaries a concern? Like, are AI summaries bad for SEO? They haven't affected our space yet, the real estate industry. Like, Google said, and we're seeing it not pop up on search results, but they're not doing AI summaries for like how to sell my house fast, or anything under the real estate umbrella. But this is a concern for people. Do you see it being a concern, and are you concerned about it, and has it affected care members at all?
So the stat that came up in Search Engine Land is only about 15% of Google searches right now are showing an AI summary, or there's another thing people are calling it. It's like AI summary, or AI. What was the other name for it? AI search summaries or overviews? 15% of searches.
SG, search generative.
There's a bunch of names for it. So, as an example, I just did a Google search. I was in Philadelphia last week. Places to visit in Philly. There's no AI search summary for that. There's definitely no AI search summaries for phrases like how to sell my house fast in Roseburg, or HVAC providers in blah, or home HVAC repair in blah. There's no search summaries for that. But if I were to do searches for, like, I'm trying to do something here, what is calculus math? I don't know. I'm just curious to see what comes up there. Even for that right now, like, there's no AI search summary, so they've really pulled it back. And one thing that we've seen is there have been kind of some you know what I'm talking about.
Hallucinations. Is that right?
Hallucinate.
Braden, help.
Yeah, Braden. We need to call Braden in here. Put an AI version of me saying the word correctly.
Y'all know.
AI's been messing up.
That's how you know this is an AI-generated podcast.
That's right. AI's been messing up in some of the things. There's been reports of, like, Google's AI telling people to drink urine and other things like that. There we go. I'm not even going to try to say it, dude. So that's been happening. And the real gap in AI, and this is what people have to remember, is people are only going to use something when trust is high that they're going to get the right answer there. That's why people for years have never used the I'm feeling lucky button on Google search.
Yeah.
No one ever does that because your confidence level of getting the answer that you're looking for is low, especially if you're looking for something that's a big stake decision, right? It's something that you don't just want to be randomly delivered to this one provider and you hope it's the right one to help you solve that problem, right? So we're gonna continue to find more and more experimentation with the big systems, OpenAI, Google, all the other ones that are experimenting with their large language models. We're gonna see a step forward in them doing something that is going to scare people. Oh my gosh, now AI is doing these things. And then you're going to see them pull it back as they see where it's messing up. Then they're going to fix it, and then they're going to take a step forward. And over time, I think we will find more and more things being AI driven. But right now, it's only about 15% of searches. And it's not the ones where people are looking for a local provider of something. Those aren't even sniffing it. It's always the what is X or how to do X, where it's general knowledge stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before? I'd like to talk about a few tactical ways like people can stay relevant as SEO changes. Anything else you wanted to hit on before I throw a question at you?
Dude, I think the only thing is people should always think about whatever marketing medium you're using for your business. You should always say, what does the future of this marketing medium look like? Right. So this is probably 4 or 5 years ago, Brady. We were and still are hard in telling people, hey, all these marketing methods, guys, like text message marketing and voice broadcasts and things like that. Yeah, they may be working right now, but don't build your businesses off of those because we don't see those working in the future. And we're seeing that today, right? We're seeing where text message marketing is getting harder and harder and harder every single day because of laws, because of technology. And I think that's a perfect example of every marketing method you use. You should ask the question, will this be around in 5 years? Should I build my business based off of this? And if it will be around, what changes? And I want to plant my stake in the ground that I truly feel that search in some way, shape, or form is going to be here in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. What we have to look at is how is it going to change, right? Because people are always going to have problems. They're always going to have questions, and they're going to go to the easiest spot to now go get that answered. And I think the evolution of it is going to be going from a search engine that I actually go to type in something to probably more voice-driven. Hey, I've got this problem, to then maybe eventually thought-driven.
Yeah.
But that's years out because everyone's got to get the Neuralink to make that happen. I'm not going to get the Neuralink.
Yeah. I was going to say, screw that, man.
So I think we're generations from that truly being like the de facto.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, search is always going to be here, I think. But it's just going to change. And the other constant, like Jeff Bezos, he's famous for saying something of like, what is it that is always going to be true? Like, what are the things that are always going to be true? Bet on those things that are always going to be true. Like for us, we know that you as a customer are never going to want a slower website. You're always going to want a faster website. You're never going to want a lower converting website. You're always going to want a higher converting website. You're never going to want to rank lower in Google. You're never going to want fewer leads. So we're always going to invest in those areas. When I look at Google search and say, what do I think is never going to change? I think it's never going to change that Google is always going to be trying to display the best, most relevant, highest trustworthy and credibility answer to somebody. And it's our job to deliver that to them.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. They're always going to want to deliver the best answer possible.
Yep.
So I think that segues well into like, what can we do to stay relevant? I think in my opinion, one of the most important things people need to pay attention to is, I'm kind of jumping the gun here on formatting their content and formatting their content in ways that are very digestible and not fluffy. To not focus on gamifying SEO, but to make your content really valuable and really digestible. Could you elaborate on that specifically, like the session you did with Keith during Summit on like featured snippets?
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. I think it's really important to like optimize for featured snippets and make sure that your content is actually answering the questions very clearly.
Yep.
Because people are typing in keywords are becoming more long tail, more conversational.
Yep.
And so in order for Google to pull and reference your content for AI, it needs to be able to clearly see what you're talking about. It can't be buried. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading something on Search Engine Land recently, and I'm just going to kind of read from this snippet that I grabbed from them. is I said you're going to always want to tell search engines clearly who you are, what you do, and why you're trustworthy. Right. And so now when we look at when we look at featured snippets or how to actually organize content on a page, there's several kind of indicators or things that you can do to structure your content that make it easier for Google to understand those, who you are, what you do, and why you're trustworthy. So the featured snippet part of it, there's several things that we can do to show maybe our reviews on there and display those on a search, on a Google search, or there's things that we can do using table of contents or a Q&A section at the top or the bottom of a page to really frame that piece of content to say, hey, here's the top 5 or 6 questions about selling your house through our service, or about repairing your HVAC or heating system. And when we better structure our content, Google goes, oh, they're an expert on this. It's well organized content, and then they oftentimes bring those things up and make them a featured part of that search experience for the user. Now, Keith is more of an expert on the actual featured snippet, like what do you do technology-wise to make that happen?
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, guys, is always ask the question of, am I making it insanely clear to Google who I am, what I do, and why I'm trustworthy in this, and organizing the content well? If it's a big old long article, let's say it's a big blog post, like I said, put a little table of contents at the top that's clickable. Here's the 5 sections of this 2,000-word article. First of all, it's what is probate, and then it's what happens when your house goes in, or when a property is in probate in Oregon, and then it goes into can you sell a house in probate in Oregon? There's a few paragraphs in that. And then it's like how to sell a house in probate in Oregon. There's a few paragraphs in that, and then it's like how to sell your house for cash in probate in Oregon. And then you got all 5 of those sections linked up at the top with a Q&A at the bottom. Google's going to love that.
Yeah.
Because it's insanely clear, it's authoritative, easy for them to navigate, easy for them to look at.
Yeah.
A couple of the things that kind of pop up when we look at really executable things is always start with high customer intent, or we call it decision phase.
Yeah,
right.
The bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, bottom of the funnel. And so when people are saying, "Oh my gosh, what if Google search changes?" The one thing that's not going to change, y'all, anytime soon, is when people get close to making a big decision for something. Once again, medical, real estate, finance are the 3 big ones where people want to research more before they make a decision. They tend to Google search or look for information about the companies that they may work with.
Yeah.
And you should always be optimizing that. You should always rank really well for your company name reviews, anything around your company name or your products. And so always start there, where a lot of people are getting distracted with these really long tail search phrases and how to rank well for selling a house in probate, in Oregon. That's great stuff. But the things that are not going to change anytime soon is your brand search. Yeah. So start with high customer intent or decision phase content. First, nail that so it makes all of your marketing work better. And then you can work your way up to more of the informational type of searches.
Honestly, man, that's probably one of the biggest takeaways for people listening to this is that focus on brand search first. Like if you're doing SEO and you're worried about, some of these longer tail keywords or what's going to happen with SEO, like focus on brand search, because it still surprises me how many people I see that are ranking for other terms or that are at least trying to rank for some of the terms, and they haven't dealt with brand search yet. They're not ranking for their own company name,
dude.
And I mean like just company name, not company name followed by city, state. Like Brady buys houses, I need to be ranking for just that, not Brady buys houses, Roseburg, whatever other keyword.
Dude, and you use video. This is something we continually see in our data, is when video is a part of the equation, conversion increases. So if someone comes from a YouTube video or they're actually watching it on YouTube and they're linked up to your website, conversion rate from YouTube videos, from Instagram stories. Now the volume of leads is way low still, right? The majority of leads still come from Google search, someone directly putting in the URL or some sort of paid marketing. But those video platforms, YouTube and IG stories, now a little bit of TikTok, are the highest converting traffic sources when they land on a carrot site because people trust video. They see the person, they can have an experience with you before they actually engage with you.
Right.
And so double down on video. Make sure you're putting video on your web pages. Make sure you're putting video on YouTube, and optimize that video for those brand searches. So if I were Brady Buys Houses, I would take my 2 or 3 latest testimonials, I would interview Marcia and Gary and Larry, who are my clients, and each one of them hopefully had a different problem that we helped them solve in Philadelphia or whatever market it is you're in. And then I would probably title them something like, Brady buys houses, Philadelphia, PA, how we help Marcia sell her house in probate. Okay, so you see, I'm optimizing for that. Our Brady buys houses reviews, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, whatever. Yeah. I'm optimizing for that brand search phrase. So now, and this is something we saw coming up the last 2 years. Back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, dude, I could always manipulate Google search results by just jamming a bunch of really good optimized videos in YouTube. Yeah. And I'd take over 2 or 3 spots, and you get those rankings within hours. Yeah. Sometimes 4 hours. That's I've got crazy. A page 1 ranking from YouTube video. Then that went away, where YouTube video rankings were hard to get on Google for probably 2 to 3 years. Now, this last year to year and a half, you're seeing a lot more Google search results or YouTube search results. Yeah. Again, very high.
With the recommended, it's like, watch this snippet.
Exactly.
Watch this portion of the video. Watch this 30 seconds.
Exactly. And I'm just going to pull up to see if there's any examples. Don't bring up my screen yet, Braden, here, but I'm just going to see if any guys that we know are doing this well. Yeah, pull up the screen here, Braden, if you can, real quick. So I'll explain this to all those who are listening to this. But I just did a search for one of our clients' brand names plus the word review at the end of it, and you're usually going to find some mix of their website, their social, websites. So Better Business Bureau pops up here, things like that. But then down further, you see here it's a killer video from Bo. This one was uploaded 2 years ago, but the title is Sell My House As Is, Simply Sold Review. I would probably put a little bit more in there. I would probably say how Brenda sold her Louisville house as is - Simply Sold Review. Okay, because then it might draw that click. It might seem more believable versus me just gaming the title of that. But guys, do that and start to control more of that brand search.
That's good stuff, man. I don't have anything else. And any other actionable takeaways for like how to stay relevant as SEO shifts? We talk about video. Yeah. Let people know who you are, what you do, why you're trustworthy. Format your content well. Go back and listen to the summit recording we did with Keith on featured snippets and formatting your content. Anything else, man?
Dude, the biggest thing is building authority is going to be even more important. The thing we've been talking about for years, the reason we've been talking about this, guys, because when I first started talking about building authority and trust in evergreen marketing years ago, 6-7 years ago, a lot of people were like, well, yeah, dude, but it's still easy for me to make a text message or a cold call and get some deals. I'm saying, yeah, it is now, but this is where things are going. Get on the train or you're going to get left behind. Yeah. And now we're seeing that. Now, it doesn't mean, I'm not saying cold calling text doesn't bring in deals. It still does. Yeah. But we're going to find that getting harder and harder and harder and harder. And where things are going is building authority and trust. The only way to build authority that I know of. Now, I want someone to challenge me on this. The only way to build authority that I know of. And what is the definition of authority? I'm going to literally Google a definition. So authority definition. So the definition of authority, I'm going to read a couple of them. These aren't great ones because these are more like authority over somebody, right? But a person or organization having power or control in a particular sphere. Okay, so that basically is I've got expertise in this area. Okay. And you know that I've got expertise in the area, or lots of people I know that I have expertise in this area. There's a lot of college professors who have expertise in their area, but they may not be authorities. They may be experts, but no one knows that they're an expert outside of their students. And there may be people who are less of an expert than that college professor, but they wrote the book and they're doing the videos and they're doing the content. They are an authority. Now they're the ones who actually win the business. Yeah. So it can be even more important, y'all, to be an authority. And the only way to build and be an authority is with content. That's it. The only way. And so this is something we've been talking about for years is coming to a head now in Google search, because when Google looks at which results it's going to find, and when a consumer is weighing decisions to say which solution am I going to go with, it all is going to boil down to, are they an expert at it? Do they have experience in this thing? And I want to be able to prove that they have experience. Are they an authority on this thing? Meaning they're not just someone who started yesterday and they know a few things. And can I trust them?
Yeah.
And what you guys just saw me do is I just went through every single one of the EAT: expertise, experience, authority, trust. We just did an entire series here on EAT where we broke down every single one of those 4 elements of EAT and showed you how to do those more. And so for those people who say that EAT is not important to Google search and that Google doesn't use EAT as a ranking factor, yes, Google officially has stated that they do not use EAT as by itself as a ranking factor. But what they do use as a ranking factor is time on site, all the user signals that happen. They use it on backlinks, which shows that, hey, other people think that this is a good site as well. Are people engaging in the website? Are they clicking on multiple pages, staying a while? Are they submitting a form showing, yeah, this site seems like it's answering the problem? Are they giving Google reviews? And are there other reviews? Those are all things that show expertise, experience, authority, and trust. And it's going to be a major part
It's huge,
of what
man.
search is continuing forward.
Yeah. It's not, in other words, it doesn't move the needle on its own, but it moves the thing that moves the thing that moves the needle. So if you feel like you're just going to go after SEO and gamify it, like, don't you need to go after EAT?
Yeah. And here's probably a good example. So one thing, there was another search algorithm that made an update this last couple of weeks. And because we have so many clients in the real estate space, now we're growing the home services market, we can really see what's happening in the space in aggregate. Right? Not a few dozen sites or a few hundred sites, but we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of websites across every MSA in America and probably up into Canada as well. And we can see what's happening. And a lot of people are asking that question of, like, with all these changes that are coming out, has traffic decreased across our network? And when I look across the last 12 months, traffic is pretty darn steady. There hasn't been a big spike. There hasn't been a drop at all. It's steady. And that's what I want to see. I don't know that I want to see a giant spike, because when we look at sites that have a giant spike, we were looking at one this morning that is a Carrot client. They've been doing a lot of AI-driven content, and I think that content was probably better than most AI content. And they saw a massive increase in rankings and traffic and leads over the course of about 6 to 8 months because they were publishing 1,000+ articles, right? And I think people will look at that, Brady. They'll look at it and say, but this guy's getting this result. I want to do the same thing. What we look at for you is not what works today, but what do we think is going to work in a year, 3, 5, 10 years?
I'll pause on that real quick. That is something really good to keep top of mind is keep an eye on your competitors over the long term.
Yep.
Don't look at one website on one day and think these guys are ranking, they're crushing it. And you can't exactly reverse engineer everything someone's doing just because they're ranking that day. Track them over the long term.
Exactly, because for that site, we were analyzing that and a bunch of other sites, and it took a massive drop this past 3 months, which I don't like, because they're a Carrot client. Like, I want to have that win, but the strategy that they were deploying, whether it's on a Carrot site or a custom WordPress site or any other platform, the outcome would have been the same, because it's taking a strategy, scaling it out at a mass level in an unnatural way in Google's eyes, probably, I'm guessing. And then overall, they started to look at the overall picture of that site over months and said, oh, maybe this site isn't as high quality and as much of an expertise, authority, and trustworthy as we initially thought, because they were publishing a volume of content. The same thing happens with backlinks. When I go out there and build a bunch of backlinks and buy a bunch of backlinks, and Jason, oh my gosh, not Jason, dude, blanking out. Nathan Gotch. So I asked him about backlinks on the summit recently. And Nathan Gotch said the right answer, right? It's like, I asked him, is buying backlinks okay? And he said that the right answer, hey, Google says you shouldn't buy backlinks. Disclaimer. But if you want to actually grow your rankings in Google, it's hard work to build real backlinks without buying some of them, right, in our space. And so when we see people gaming backlinks and you see a bunch of links growing fast, you're going to see that ranking pop. People are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But it might be in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or 14 months that ranking of that site that had 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 links built over a 90-day or a 6-month period, it went up like this, a bunch of leads, you're usually going to see it come back down. Okay. So people might be saying, well, Trevor, is it worth investing all this time in SEO? It is when you look at it over years, not months. If I'm looking at it saying, dude, I want to build that evergreen base that I'm going to be looking back in a year and 2 years and saying, I'm so darn glad I invested in this. Just like investing in relationships and building a network.
Yep.
I'm so glad I invested in this and did it the right way to where it's going to be here for years for me. And I didn't try to accelerate the thing by gaming it. You're going to be looking back and going, damn, this is one of the best decisions I made because I'm getting leads consistently. I'm closing some of my best deals. Chris Ty, one of our clients, he's a contractor. He posted in the Evergreen marketing community just recently, I think it was yesterday or today, about how he's changing his marketing strategy now because he's been analyzing all of his leads and all of his deals across all of his marketing sources. And SEO for him is brand new, right? He just started it in like December of this past year, so 6 months in. And he had a custom WordPress site for years before, and he said, man, I never really got any business from it. Switched to Carrot. Started executing good content using our platform that's built to help you stand out and load quicker and give you better ranking ability and conversion, making it convert higher and having all the website usability things that make the user signals go back to Google and go, hey, this site's a good quality site. People are finding the right answers. He posted his stats, and I think it's like his second best lead source by volume is SEO now. And the ratio of SEO leads that turn into a deal are the highest across all of his lead sources as a contractor. And so he said, like, guess what I'm investing even more into in the back part of this year? SEO. When you do it right. So guys, I'll kind of finish with this. I'll toss it over to you, Brady. But I'm eager and curious to see how AI continues to change Google search. I think over the long term, it's actually going to be a net better experience for a Google searcher. But in the short term, anytime a new technology is coming in to try to make the search experience better, there's going to be a lot of attempts by Google and Bing to roll out a feature with AI and then roll it back because it didn't work. But they'll learn. Yeah. And we will see more and more search results being driven by AI and fewer websites being rewarded with a click and someone going to their website for it. But the ones that are gonna be here the longest are the ones that are not the easy informational how-to, what is type of searches, but it's the ones that are going to continue to be rewarded with clicks to your website versus AI search summaries taking it over, are the ones that where someone's trying to find a local solution. Someone's trying to solve a big problem with big stakes, with big risk, and we're going to be at the forefront helping you guys get there. Yeah. And we're going to be at the forefront helping you guys get there the right way, without gamifying it. So you're there not just today and this month and this quarter, but next year and the year after, to truly build that evergreen performance we always talk about.
That's good stuff, man. So focus on providing valuable content, building a real brand, focus on optimizing for EAT on your website. The only thing I'd add in, Trevor, to round it out, I started reading Gary Vee's new book this last week.
Yep.
Day Trade Intention. The title kind of grossed me out, to be frank. I was like, Day Trade Intention?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's gross. But anyways, I was like, he's Gary Vee, he's sharp. I'll read the book. Got past the title. And one of the things he started talking about was the TikTokification of social media.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how as marketers, you need to focus on what marketing methods are underpriced and go after the marketing methods when they're underpriced and avoid the ones that are overpriced. And he was making an argument for 4 years ago, TikTok was extremely underpriced. And a lot of people right now think, okay, TikTok's now flooded. I'm not going to get on TikTok, and they don't do anything.
Yep.
And they think that's the right move. Like, it's flooded. It's too late for me. Anyways, what I'm getting at is he said, no, it's not flooded like you think it is. The same thing happened with podcasts in 2016 when podcasts started to really go from like this fringe thing to like mainstream.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, podcasts are flooded. Like, it's, it's exponential. You look at the number of podcasts and it's still going up and up, still valuable. Anyways, what I'm getting at with this is that SEO, even though it's been around for a while, I still feel it's dramatically underpriced.
Oh yeah.
I feel like SEO is a dramatically underpriced marketing method that not enough people are taking advantage of.
Yep.
And like, some of the search terms can be competitive and it can take some time to rank, but for the result, like, you're talking about the most motivated leads out there.
Yeah. And
it's not going away at least in the next few years. And like, SEO and Google is not going to drop off the face of the planet anytime soon.
Yep.
And so I think it would be the biggest mistake for someone to look at AI and where they think SEO is heading, be like, well, everything's going to SEO. I don't need to work on my website. I don't need to do content. I don't need to do video. like it's still dramatically underpriced.
And dude,
That's just
we
my
have to ask
thought.
the question, like, where are our prospects and clients actually searching? So a lot of people keep saying, "Oh my gosh, Chat GPT, I haven't used Google search in a week." Is that person your customer? Most of the time, most of the people that we see talking about it, like Brent Moreno, a great friend of ours, he said that, I think, is before Summit. He's like, dude, I've only used Google search like 2 times this week. I've used Chat GPT for everything else. He's at the forefront of AI and Chat GPT usage. Of course, he's going to be using that tool all the time. But your average house seller who's motivated, they're probably not touching Chat GPT for anything other than novelty or how to do some fancy math calculation for their kids' homework. Maybe they're not touching it to actually solve their problems. So guys, look at where your clients hang out, where they're finding information, and let's get the right content in front of them. We'll help you guys continue to do that.
And it hasn't dipped since this whole AI evolution began.
Hasn't dipped a bit. It's been constant over the past 12 months.
Visitors have not gone down at all.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. If you were not on with us live, you're listening to this after the fact, join us in the Carrot community. Go to community.carrot.com and join the free Facebook group. We'd love to see you in here live every Thursday. We do a little Q&A after the episodes, but that's all we got. Thanks for listening, and we will see you all next week.
Heck yeah. Thank you, guys.